Hey gang, Todd Helms out here with Eastmans Hunting Journals this afternoon to bring you another gear review, this time on the Buck Knives 656 Pursuit Pro Large Knife and the 119 Special. So I'm going to give you a rundown on each of these knives and why, if you're in the market for a new hunting knife, you need to be looking at these new Bucks, or one new Buck and one revamped Buck knife, because you know Buck has been around in the hunting knife business and the cutlery business for a long time, always making great American-made products for American hunters. And I tell you what, I don't know about you, but Buck knives in my mind mean heirloom quality. They're a knife that you're gonna buy and use and ultimately pass down to a future generation, a son, a daughter, a grandson, a granddaughter, whatever it may be. In your case, these knives are going to be around and last long enough and give you years of flawless performance so you can pass that on to your next generation coming up behind you. So the 656 Pursuit Pro Large Knife is the one with the orange handle here. This is a more modern take on a piece of hunting cutlery, and it's going to retail, or not going to, it does retail for about $115, $114.99. And you just look at the way that thing is built, and it is an impressive knife. Heavy duty blade, very ergonomic, and features a sure grip handle. As you can see here, it's orange, it's black. The black is textured. When you grab this, it feels good in your hand. It's not gonna slip. You know, as you get blood on your hands from working with an animal as you're using this knife, that grip is secure. It's grooved on top here in the back, and it's just forms to your hand really well. I have short fingers, but I have big fat palms. Everybody's like, oh, you got bear paws, and that's pretty much what I got to deal with here. But that knife fits my hand really, really well. It's not too big, it's not too small, it's just right. And I think Buck really thought that through and made an extremely ergonomic, sure grip knife with that. This knife also features, if you look here, you can see that metal. That metal is all one piece. That is called full tang. This knife is full tang because it is that tang. The blade starts here, it runs all the way through the handle, and it ends here. This knife, if you can break this knife, you're either using it wrong or you're a lot tougher than I am, I tell you what, because this knife is heavy duty. You've got the drop point hunter style blade I really like the drop point for a lot of reasons. I like to be able to choke up on it, which Buck thought through. They have little index points here on the blade, so I can choke up on this knife and I can use it for more fine detail. I can even flip my hand around and I can use it for fine detail that way as well. Buck thought that through, because when you get a knife that's substantial, this is a 9.5-inch knife. When you get a knife that's this substantial, you've got to be able to manipulate it in other ways other than just the old, hack job. You don't want to be doing that when you're taking your tenderloins out or your back straps off or you're doing caping work with this knife. You want to be able to turn it, choke up on it, and use fine, fine little strokes, almost like a pencil or a pen, as you're using this knife. And Buck thought that through because they put those index points and grip points on this 656 Pursuit Pro Large hunting knife. Another thing that Buck did with this is the steel that they used is designed to hold an edge. This knife's going to give you a lot of service before you're going to have to touch it up. The steel is S35 VN steel, and that means that not only is it sharp, and it is pretty easy to sharpen, it retains an edge well. It's a nice combination of a good hardness, but yet soft enough where your average Joe is going to be able to put an edge back on this after they do, however many animals with it. This knife, if I was going to classify this as a hunting knife in my terms, this is your do-all. This is a knife that would serve as both, field crafting or bush crafting knife, as well as hunting. It is a nice size, nice all-around size, that it's not too big. You get much bigger than this and you get into the realm of you get sticking that blade in places that it doesn't belong, like your leg or your hand, or a part that you don't want that knife to slip and cut on an animal, like maybe the entrails or something like that. This knife's not too big that it's going to get in your way, but it's substantial enough where you have a large and long cutting surface on this blade, and it's heavy and robust enough that I could probably put this against ribs and chop down through. Not probably ideal or intended for that, and you might experience some edge rolling, but overall, that's gonna do it. So that is the 656 Pursuit Pro large hunting knife. All right, so moving on to an old school design that's been updated. This is the 119 Special Pro. We've got an updated look on this. As you can see, these always had that cool old glossy black handle. Well, Buck decided to spruce them up a little bit, and they changed it to a green kind of olive micarta handle. Updates the look on it a little bit. You could still get the black ones, the old school glossy black ones. There's still a high gloss finish, which I kind of like. This knife is a really good balance. This handle is a good balance of, I guess, circumference to be able to hold onto it really well, but length where it's not too big and it's not too little for my hand. So the 119 Special Pro is an updated version of the old school 119 Special that was actually invented in about 1902 by Buck Knives founder Hoyt Buck when he created this original design from an old file blade. This is just a classic clip point blade design. The steel's been updated in it to S35 VN steel, which means it's going to be a little easier for the layman like me to sharpen, but it's also going to still stay extremely sharp and hold an edge. And here in a minute, I'm going to take both of these knives and I'm going to show you just how sharp they really are. I personally like the updated version. I like the green over the old school black. They're both cool, but this just, I don't know, man, this just looks a little more outdoorsy to me, and I really like this design. This is a really cool knife. It's a classic. You've seen this design pop up in hunters' backpacks and on their belts, and even in certain 90s horror flicks, for those of you that are familiar with that genre of movie, you know this knife. You've seen it before. But I prefer to remember this knife as the stalwart classic from my Northwoods deer camp days when I was a kid. It seemed like everybody had one of these things on their belt. You still see these. These are a fixture in an awful lot of hunting camps out west, and there's a good reason for it. This is 10.5 inches of can do right here. All right, so I told you these things are scary sharp. Just like all Buck knives out of the box, man, they're wicked sharp. These things will, both of these. But how are they at finesse work? You know, you look at a knife like this 119 Special Pro, and you think, dang, man, that thing's almost a foot long. That's a big knife. Well, let's do a little fine work with them and see how they are. Something that's going to test both the sharpness and the fine work. We'll use the great big one first, the 119. Yeah, you're right. I'm gonna shave my legs. Here we go. Look at that. It just blew away. But look at that smooth patch of skin right there. I got a couple that I missed. Man, I feel like a woman. Another 1990s reference. Yeah, that's impressive right there. That's the big dog. I mean, if I could do that with it, you're going to be able to do a lot of different things with that knife that are exceptional. I'm going to stick it back in there. Now, let's try the 656 Pursuit Pro large knife. See how that does. Let's go a little bit further down because it's almost elk season. I might have to actually shave my ankles for taping purposes, but we'll see. Look at that. Hair's just falling right off. Legs are, skin's a little dry. I'm going to bring it all the way up here. Look at that. Wow. Those are smoother than my wife's legs. That's crazy. Well, anyway, So there we are, guys. There you have it. You've got the 119 Special Pro and the 656 Pursuit Pro Large. Those things are awesome. You get the quality and the sharpness that Buck Knives is world famous for, the warranty that they're famous for, the heirloom quality of these things. You're getting $114.99 here and $189.99 here. And you can do everything from skin grizz to shaved legs. Hey, thanks for joining us. Stay tuned for more. We'll bring you more great stuff. While we've got you here, drop down, stab that subscribe button, and turn on the notifications bell so you can stay up to date with all the great details and stuff that we're doing here at Eastmans. Till next time, we'll see you in the field.